Many people are fascinated with Western history, and there's no better place to explore legends of the Old West than in the great state of Kansas. Hey, it's Laura. I take up space on social media as Quirky Driven Life. But for this adventure, you'll find me in Coffeyville, Kansas. The Dalton Gang, primarily made up of criminal band of brothers Robert, Dalton, Emmett, and Grattan, who went by Grat. The Dalton brothers were known for robbing stagecoaches, trains, and banks, predominantly in Kansas and Indian Territory, which is present-day Oklahoma. Wanting to outdo the James brothers, Bob Dalton devised a scheme to hit not one, but two banks in broad daylight simultaneously. It would have been quite the feat had it been pulled off without a hitch. Unfortunately, the plan went down in a barrage of deadly gunfire. Shortly at arriving into town on October 5th, 1892, the gang tethered up their horses in a nearby alleyway before splitting up to invade both bank sites. Bob and Emmett hightailed it over to the First National Bank, while Grat, accompanied by fellow gang members Dick Broadwell and Bill Powers, beelined over to the Condon Bank. A local town resident spotted a member of the gang and alerted authorities. Armed town residents quickly surrounded both banks. Bob and Emmett briskly shoved cash into a burlap sack before attempting to exit onto the street, where they were met by a wall of bullets. Scurrying back inside First National, the Daltons began to sneak out the back when they were shot at by a barber and a livery stable owner. Bob did not survive. Down at Condon Bank, a cashier foiled the robbery plan of Grat, Dalton, Broadwell, and Powers by spinning a tale that the vault couldn't be opened because it was on a time lock. This delay helped give the townspeople enough time to surround the Condon Bank. A bullet shattered the window, striking Broadwell in the arm. Snatching up $1,500 in loose cash, the three men darted out the door and skedaddled across the street into the alley, hurrying to reach their horses to escape. Grat, Broadwell, and Powers all met their maker in the alley. It was an even score after the botched robbery attempt, and the gun smoke cleared. 4 citizens of Coffeyville were slain, same as the decimated Dalton gang, with the sole survivor being Emmett Dalton. If you visit Coffeyville, you can follow the footsteps that retrace the path of the chase. You can view the outlines where the bandits and townspeople alike fell dead in their tracks. After viewing the alley and the bank locations, go over to the Dalton Defenders and Coffeyville History Museum, which displays a nice assortment of local history artifacts along with an extensive collection of Dalton Gang paraphernalia. The museum is dedicated to honoring the citizens that took up arms to defend their town against the Daltons. It's definitely worth a look if you're passing through town. The brave town people killed in the event were Charles T. Connolly, who was a 46-year-old schoolteacher who served as the town marshal, Charles Brown, George B. Cubine, and Lucius M. Baldwin. Now it's time to discuss the real reason I went to Coffeyville. It was to investigate the Brown Mansion. It's an absolutely beautiful historic home built in 1900. The mansion was created by local lumber and gas businessman William Pitzer, known as W.P. Brown, and his wife Nancy. The mansion has 3 floors plus a basement, which contains the butler's quarters, laundry facility, and several other various storage rooms. The top floor contains an elegant ballroom that once served as the gym and schoolroom for the Brown's son, Donald. The classically designed Brown residence cost $125,000 to construct and encompasses 16 rooms. The main floor includes a living room, parlor, billiard room, library, conservatory, dining room, kitchen, and sleeping quarters for the maid. The second floor houses 5 bedrooms and 3 full baths. Even U.S. President William Howard Taft once visited and rested in the stately home. The Browns had a total of 5 children. 2 sons died at birth. William Kilgore Brown, known as Willie, was born in Coffeyville, Kansas in July 1894, but died 4 years later due to pneumonia. Donald Kilgore Brown was the only Brown child to live in the home as a child. Donald succumbed to complications of diabetes on October 12, 1911, just 1 month shy of his 12th birthday. Violet Brown Coiler, born in 1885, was the firstborn child to W.P. and Nancy. Violet was a young bride at 19 years old, marrying into a newspaper family from Wichita. Violet and her first husband divorced shortly after the death of their only child. Violet was a woman of the world. She traveled, went to college, remarried, and divorced a second time. Violet moved home in 1930 to care for her aging parents, and when W.P. and Nancy had both passed away, the mansion was bestowed to Violet. The Depression caused hard economic times, which dwindled the Browns' fortune, making it difficult for Violet to maintain the enormous task of upkeeping the residence. Violet chose to sell the mansion to the Coffeyville Historical Society for the purpose of turning the home into a museum. Violet passed away on November 16, 1973, at the age of 88 in a nursing facility in Independence, Kansas. The Brown Mansion is rumored to be haunted, possibly by Violet. Could it be Donald? There's also claims that it could be Charlie, who was the butler to the Browns. Getting history on the home, I believe I captured a male voice that could possibly be Charlie. This was in the basement down in his living quarters. It's right after the lady says masseuse.
Work at the bathhouse as a masseuse and a little boxing sparring partner.
Here's the clip isolated.
A little boxing.
Nothing too insane happened while my group was investigating the mansion. However, there were a couple interesting things that did occur while we were on site. The first being, I had left a recorder on the first floor and captured the sound of someone turning on the lights, which was not anyone in our group, as we had turned all the lights off and were investigating in the dark.
Hello?
Due to the age of the home, you had to push the button in to turn on the electricity. The response captured sounds like it was hard to push in the button. The second interesting thing that took place when myself and another investigator were in Donald's room on the second floor doing an EVP session. That stands for Electronic Voice Phenomenon. That means we are asking questions and we're trying to record spirit responses. We heard someone coming up and down the staircase. It was most definitely footsteps. And then you heard what sounded like someone opening a metal folding chair. This was not too alarming, as we had a third investigator that was supposed to be joining us in this session, and there were folding metal chairs in various places in the home for people to sit on, since it's obviously a historic home and you cannot sit on the original furniture. I went out towards the staircase to see why this person kept walking up and down the stairs. I looked outside. I noticed the investigator was outside smoking a cigarette. So that makes me wonder if the footsteps are yet another residual happening in the home. Residual is like an event that took place and it just keeps looping over and over again. The last thing that happened, myself and another investigator were headed down the main staircase towards the entryway at the end of the night. We both distinctly heard with our own ears a woman say, "Hello," and instinctively I just said hello back. No one answered me. The voice was heard, was definitely a female, and we both found it amusing since we'd been there for hours at this point.
Did you know?
Yeah, I did.
Here's the clip played again. All the activity we encountered in the home seemed to be residual, which is just an imprint in time that keeps looping over and over again. If you tour both the Dalton Museum and the Brown Mansion, don't miss out on asking for the combination price for a discount. The mansion is available to be reserved for private events and weddings. It is normally closed in January and February for extensive cleaning. Before heading out of Coffeyville, make a point to go by Elmwood Cemetery. You can visit the Browns, the Daltons, and some of the defenders' final resting places. There is a map just inside the cemetery that will guide you where the notable graves are located. I hope you enjoyed this visit to Coffeyville, Kansas. Until next time, I'm Laura, aka Quirky Driven Life.